Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Thriving Minds podcast with your host, Walter Parada, where we strive to provide you with empowering talks so you can live to thrive. If you like these empowering talks, make sure to subscribe to our podcast and our channel. All right, so today, I just want to let all of you know that I believe in you. I believe in people's greatness. So this is what really motivates me, is the greatness that you all have. You know, the greatness in people that just needs to be tapped in. And it's usually brought out through something that really inspires us, that makes us believe that we can do what we set out for. If you listen to some of our episodes, you'll hear me dive a little bit deeper into when we're really young, we have all this energy and optimism. And then as we go through life, certain experiences can be difficult to handle. And especially the people around us, they'll magnify the negative aspect of what we went through. Basically, they're pointing out the mistakes, the slip-ups, all the things that went wrong that only feeds that self-doubt. And then we lose that optimism. And over time, that energy just kind of dwindles because we've really just come to give in to the resistance. The very essence of why I decided to go in this direction, to have these talks, to create the Thriving Minds resource where you can work through different personal aspects and journal about whatever's on your mind, good, bad, everywhere in between, the things that you need to work through, your ideas, your hopes, your setbacks, whatever it might be. And all of this was done to bring out the things that make you great, the things that really build your confidence and build that want to really thrive and not just merely survive. You see, I kind of had this gripe with the way people are handled and the way people are treated, and just that lack of support and development and bringing out all the things that you all do well. Some of this frustration comes from the lack of questioning. Why do we let people treat us this way in a very authoritative manner? And I've concluded because it gets people to follow orders through a sense of control. This lacks energy and creativity that stifles a person's wonderful qualities. And this discourages autonomy to basically doubt yourself and just do what you were raised to do. Do what you were told to do. So all this really gets people angry and frustrated that ultimately leaves them almost scared, making it very difficult to overcome some of those trying moments that makes us lose that enthusiasm. And people will carry this throughout life many times unaware of it. The perspective becomes more hostile. Much of this comes from those negative things that we were told, basically were only spoken to when we're given directions or when a mistake was made. So we become conditioned to respond to what's negative. But when things go right, when things go smoothly, nothing is generally said. Those that supposedly have some power kind of think, yeah, that's the way it should be done. Now, yeah, as of late, things are changing, especially for kids nowadays growing up. And let's say even maybe 15 years ago, it really started to be a little bit more not only saying the bad, but encouraging kids or encouraging people. But what we want is not to get to the point where it's detrimental and all we hear is good things, which doesn't build resiliency. What really drives me is seeing people succeed in whatever their chosen path is, to really thrive in what they're doing. When I see others doing well, it truly inspires me. It excites me, and it just makes me so happy to see others in that position. It's such an uplifting thing to get to be a part of. While yes, we all want our own individual success, there's only so much of it that we can really enjoy. But when others can enjoy their own success and just being there supporting them, it's really a collective group of people's unique qualities that need to continue to be fed instead of stifled. To have a great support system that celebrates your wins, because when we celebrate others' wins, we all win, right? It's infectious. It just rubs off onto us. And that translates to what we do on a daily basis. But we still have that survival instinct in our brain that makes us view competition as a threat, that other people's success means less resources available, less piece of the pie for you to enjoy. I think we've evolved enough to understand that there's so much for us to have and enjoy. If we just look at all the things around us, it's feeding into that narrative. And this kind of brings out more of our fears and makes us act based upon them. Sports is a great example of this. It kind of feeds into that narrative of there's a winner and there's a loser every time. So the winners come at the cost of the losers, right? And that will trickle into so many other daily things that we do, It could be something in school where it's a spelling bee contest or whatever contest it is, right? We're trying to pick who's the best, right? And I understand, right? Competition is good because it can help, bring out some of the resourcefulness that we all have. It makes us dig deeper to see what we can achieve when we're under pressure, right? But at the same time, it kind of activates that survival mode. And then it just kind of snowballs from there. So like, let's say if you don't do well in school, then your parents or your teachers are going to tell you, well, if you don't do well in school, then you're not going to be able to get a good job to, make it on your own. Or if you don't do well in work, then you're going to get fired. And that's the message that we consistently hear to make us act out of fear instead of out of the great possibilities that we can achieve. And it's understandable. We want to ensure that we can survive. But in doing so, we'll go ahead and pursue things that are easy layups, where it's almost guaranteed that I'll have enough to continue to live the life that I've always known. But in doing so, do we really come to ask if that's what we really want? Because for me, I see so much greatness in people that I've come across, whether it's them being good in writing, being artistic, creative, being resourceful, being able to figure things out, being innovative, yet they use that very little. They're at some job or they're just doing something that does not align with those strengths. For those that are fortunate enough to have people that help facilitate this, where they can nurture a person's great qualities, it provides that belief within oneself that even though I might not see what I do well, there's somebody who does. And that just strengthens me and what I choose to do. For those of you that listen to previous episodes, you might have heard me mention that growing up, I enjoyed playing football because it was fun to do. And while yes, the objective is to do well and win, playing with my buddies for me was just the highlight of what I had to look forward to. It was just a great time to spend with them and make memories, And then once I started playing organized football, especially in high school, it became a lot more of don't do this, don't do that. And what that did was restrict my abilities because I was overloaded mentally of avoiding mistakes. And to be honest, I was, I did okay. I was a slow runner, but I understood my strengths. But like I said, in high school, I really was not allowed to use them. I was kind of told, constructed, kind of conditioned to do other things that were really my weak points. So this made high school football for me less enjoyable. And I almost went to practice resentful, angry, just, asking myself, why am I even doing this? I don't even enjoy it. But I'll always remember this one time our position coach, Coach Greg, he allowed us to play aggressive. And one particular practice, he talked to our position group and he says, listen, you guys all have your assignments and you have to execute on them. But if you feel you can make a play on the ball and it breaks that assignment, then you go for it. And if you make a mistake, so what? You're going to learn from it. But trust yourself. Those words reinvigorated and reinforced that belief within me. It was a pivotal point that transformed me because from that point on, I played free, which allowed me to play with confidence and I was having fun again. I was coming to practice, looking forward to it. What can I do? How can I get better? How can I compete? But prior to that, I struggled with finding my footing to play the way I needed to play instead of playing the way the head coach wanted me to play. I think a big part of a coach's job is to instill belief and develop a player to bring out their best traits. it's not solely on the player if he does well, but it's the position that he's put in. That talk was a tremendous turning point because the next practice is where I had my breakthrough. Everything that I was doing with my buddies, just playing football for fun, was unleashed in practice. I was just consistently playing with a very aggressive and tenacious attitude. So like I said, I was slow. I was not as strong as everybody else, but I did have a certain want to just do the best that I could. And Coach Greg helped me realize that, that I was enough. And if I made mistakes, I'm just going to use that as learning opportunities and move on from it instead of dwelling on it. So like I said, much of the limitations that I had were because of that mental block. And once that was broken down, then I can use those strengths to my advantage, right? So like I said, because I was a slow runner, I understood that I could get in an opponent's face, kind of constantly be pushing them around, making some sort of contact that disrupts their speed, their agility, anything that really flusters them. That is where I kind of hung my hat on. That's what I really excelled in. So for me, it was a truly remarkable experience to get to spend time with Coach Greg. He was a relatively young guy, I think at that time in his early 20s, and it differed from the head coach at the time who was well over 50. So he kind of had that old school mentality of my way or the highway. You got to fit the system that I run. And if you don't, then you're just not good enough. But Coach Greg really empowered me. And not just on the football field. Only later I'd realize those words that he said truly impacted me for the better. I kind of wondered, what if I didn't have him? I think I still would have been constantly second guessing myself, not giving my full effort because of that uncertainness. But he provided conviction in me to go ahead and trust myself. Coach Greg, he was a bit of a rogue. He would speak his mind and do it in a very respectable way. But if there was something he disagreed with, he'd bring it up with the coaches in a respectful, professional manner. And if they didn't agree upon it, he'd still do his own thing. So that's something that I think was a great example for me. Coach Greg, he saw something in each and every one of us. And he didn't give a rah-rah speech because that talk he had with us was not to get us pumped up or anything like that. It was truly more on the confidence side of it, the mental side of the game, everything that you do to prepare to execute at a high level. It was really just belief in yourself, not just doing what you're told, but what you see, what you feel, trust it, go with it. Remember, if you like these empowering talks, subscribe to our podcast and our channel. That's why I consistently talk about having a mentor figure, somebody that you can really confide in that brings out the best in you, because I've seen the tremendous transformation that it's had on me. This really helped reinforce the things that I felt were some of my strengths. And later, what I come to find out was one of those strengths is just me asking general questions. When I don't know, I kind of have a tendency to ask and ask some more, right? I just want to know. I'm curious. And sometimes this could lead to me disagreeing with what I was told or the direction that I was given because, I just felt there was other ways of doing things effectively. Maybe the instructions I was given work for somebody else, but maybe they're not working for me. So Coach Greg, because of that rogue attitude and kind of him doing things on his own, helped me realize that it's okay to go down that route. I think we all have this to a certain degree. We kind of question why, but it really is a strength that is kind of conditioned out of us to not ask so many questions because it could be seen as rude. It could be seen as challenging authority that we could go wild and not do exactly what we're expected to do. And it's understandable why in certain cases you got to do exactly what you're told for safety reasons. But in so many different other situations, there's so many other ways of going about things. And sometimes it's okay to let people kind of do things on their own because it helps to promote autonomy. And while yes, mistakes are going to be made, while yes, things may take a little longer than what was anticipated, It's helping an individual be comfortable in who they are and what they can do that allows them to really bring out all those great things about them. So to the listeners, I have not met you, but I know that you have so many wonderful things about you. And we just need to identify it and nurture it, really feed it and keep feeding it, which helps lead the way where you can silence much of that self-doubt to get out of living in fear, to take risk, because if you don't, you'll consistently stay safe, and going down that road, it's just going to lead to being content, missing out on what truly can be fulfilling. And fulfilling, you need to define for yourself. It's not so much the destination, but just what you consistently get to do on a daily basis. For some of us, we're fortunate enough to kind of be put in a position to be around a well-experienced person that provides actionable and relevant advice that truly suits you. Sports is a great example of this, and that's how I met Coach Greg. And I also had another great mentor, Coach Dirk Williams. He was a very good football coach. Both provided me great teaching of football fundamentals. But Coach Dirk was a great person to talk to about personal matters to kind of expand your horizons. But for others, this type of resource is lacking. Having a different opinion that helps see things for the better, or at least in different ways. If we just take a look at many everyday situations for kids growing up, teenagers growing up, it's usually the parents that are providing that sort of guidance. And that's great to have, but it's also great to have some sort of resource other than that, because outside of parents is their peers, their friends or their classmates. And by providing a third option, it gives more of a well-rounded perspective, because as we all know, kids, teenagers, young adults will kind of tune out their parents, and sometimes it's for good reasons. Sometimes the parents do nag, even though they might have good intentions. It's just the way that it's relayed to the kid or to the teenager can be very off-putting. A common thing I would hear growing up, just in general, was, "You're lazy. You're never going to be able to get a job," or something of the like. Something very kind of negative that gets you to fear taking action. But really, think about it. Kids, and especially teenagers, they're forming their own opinions, and that's rubbing them the wrong way. So you think they're just going to fall in line? No, you got to incentivize them to want to work hard, want to do something ambitious. So if you happen to be in this situation where it's either your parents or your peers and you want something more, take it upon yourself and find yourself a group, an organization, or some sort of team that you can be a part of, because that's where those bonds are naturally formed. Take it upon yourself to surround yourself with the people that uplift you, those that empower you and just bring out all the great things about you. This can ensure that you're consistently thriving, where it's not only relying on your natural talents, but it's made possible by your work ethic that you have and the hunger to learn and consistently get better, because that can make the difference in your endeavors. Just look at all the wonderful things that many people have done, whether it's Walt Disney building the media studios that produce such inspiring movies to eventually creating the Disney theme parks, the invention of the automobile and the airplanes to get us to new and exciting destinations, to see a world beyond where we live, to broaden our horizons that really enrich our lives. All those artists that have produced wonderful pieces of music, the creative minds that have given us movies that really let us see the world without really ever having to go too far. Or just the daily marvels of having electricity, running water, refrigeration, and heating in our homes that consistently gives us comfort in the places that we live. Just look at these people as prime examples and know that their journeys to producing these incredible feats, but they were able to embrace it, to withstand those very trying times, to overcome them, and it's yielded these marvelous results. And many of them understood their strengths and leveraged them. Now I get it. There could be the negativity floating around in your head saying, well, I'm not good at anything. I've never done anything that I really enjoyed. But maybe that's because you have yet to find that one thing or those few things. It just takes time. You got to try different things to let yourself make mistakes, fail, and eventually you're going to become used to being in uncomfortable positions, because while it can be a lonely feeling at times, it can also be very invigorating because you come to discover things about yourself that you probably weren't aware of. If I can provide any value in any way, know that I truly believe in you to go after what you really want, no matter how big or how small, no matter how relevant or irrelevant, even if it means that nobody agrees with you. If you agree with it, then that's all you really need. But I'm here to tell you, you have a supporter behind you. I just feel like it's my duty to pass along that little bit of experience that Coach Greg provided me. And while, yes, our time was short, he left a deep, long-lasting impact on me that I'm forever grateful for. I never got to see him after that short time I was with him. And just thinking about it, damn, he really changed my life. And I never got the chance to say that to him. And I kind of think, who would I be without those words that he said to me? What if I wasn't there at practice that day? I think I would have been just dredging through things, consistently doubting myself. And I think I would have been at some miserable job, safe, and truly unhappy and unfulfilled. Coach Greg, if you ever listen to this, know that I'm so thankful to have gotten the opportunity to meet you. I hope this resonates with you guys. And I want you all to know that I want you to succeed in whatever you choose to do. I believe in the greatness of people. I believe that we can overcome our differences to resolve things and make our interactions a little bit better each time we come across one another. That just because we come from different backgrounds, different credences, and education levels, that doesn't make us enemies in any way, but more of diverse allies. Sometimes if we could just take a step back from letting our egos run the show, we can see the greatness in others that we deem as threats because it's infringing on what we do well. You know, just take a look at if you're running a sneaker company. Everybody that's selling sneakers is your competitor, and you're competing against them to take market share, to eventually put them out of business, or put them so far down the hole that they're not even able to compete with you. Let's get away from that and see what we all have to offer, because when we can do this, it helps us be more cohesive, communicate effectively, where we're listening to each other and no longer just trying to say what's on our minds to prove a point. For many years, I saw so many great things in people that I got the opportunity to meet, yet they were doing things that seemed to limit themselves. And usually I'd come to ask them, hey, what about pursuing some of the ideas that really drive you? You know, because you got a lot of admirable qualities that are not being used effectively. I can remember I used to work with this one gal that showed tremendous leadership, patience, and just an overall great understanding of what was needed by the people that she led. She ran a large harvest crew in a nut orchard and had a lot of moving parts to make sure everyone had what they needed to ensure operations ran smoothly. And there was a mix of different experiences, with some people having 10 plus years in harvesting and others that were completely new to it. And she did an excellent job in serving the people. So those that were more experienced had a lot more leeway, where it was just kind of providing them with the tools and resources that they needed for the day. And then she can focus her efforts on developing the new people so they can settle into where they can operate on their own. But those above her were very power hungry. So they were so focused on daily results and would kind of harp on her for, why is production down on these days? And it'd be a multitude of reasons, you know, things such as heavy workloads, equipment breaking down in certain fields that were really rough. And every now and then we would kind of talk about things outside of work, kind of, you know, what we wanted to do, what plans we originally had before taking a job here. And, you know, she's been there a little bit over 11 years, so now she kind of feels like she's stuck. And if she were to go a different route, try something new, that'd be a lot of work for her to pivot. So that's kind of, you know, the fear that's instilled in us by other people. And it just seems like a lot of people have this thinking, and it comes from how we're treated. We're reprimanded for kind of doing things our own way, for not completely following the instructions. That's part of the higher ups of having that attitude of my way or the highway. If you don't comply with what I say, with what I want, then you're out of here. So fear kind of runs the show. And I just want all of you to know that, like I said, I haven't met you, but I know for sure there's greatness in there waiting to be unleashed. Maybe you've seen it for just a little bit at a time, or maybe you haven't at all. But know that there's something magnificent within you. And when you can find that, run with it, nurture it, get away from the people that are stifling you, and get with the people that really build you up. We're all going to face adversity. And usually the people that are able to overcome it is because of their great qualities that led the way. They were able to identify their strengths and really use them to their advantage while still working in other areas that makes them really handle whatever might come their way. Don't wait for confirmation from others to tell you that you're good at something. Sometimes it's okay to have a second opinion just to gauge if you're accurately assess your own strengths. But if you're seeing the results in what you're doing, there's no need for validation from others. What you think is enough. So know that you got to trust yourself. Trust what you see. Trust what you feel. And if you're wrong, it's not the end all be all. You can recover from it as long as you can pivot for the better. Just the other day I saw a very inspiring moment where all these people were running in a marathon. And I know marathons are quite common, but I was taken a bit back by the sheer great resiliency and strength that all these runners showed. It was different age ranges, different abilities, different backgrounds. And it really didn't matter to me who finished the fastest. But I can see the adversity that many of these runners were going through. And they were just consistently pushing through to finish. And I can see on their face the sheer greatness was on full display. Pushing themselves even though their body is telling them no more. And moments like these is why I believe in people. Why I believe in you. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're interested in more topics like this, become a Thriving Minds member at www.thrivingminds.live. It's your personal development resource so you can build that right mindset so you can live to thrive. Remember, if you like these empowering talks, subscribe to our podcast and our channel.